Is Kevin the culture king?
Who the hell's Harry?
And why should anyone give a shit about your brand?
It's all in here. Check it out. So happy, and you guys being here. Thanks, Chris, so much.
Pleasure, man.
For being here. Kevin as well, for being in the studio. I mean, today we're going to talk about something that's an important topic for, I think, us as business owners and growing businesses, but also businesses just all different shapes and sizes. So with you guys being in here, can you just take a quick moment, just tell the audience a little bit about yourself, Chris?
John, it's good to see you, man. And I appreciate you inviting us on the new show, man. Yep. This is great news. And I'm Chris O'Neill. I'm the CEO and founder of Logical Media Group. And we are on year 19, or completed year 19, and we are in year 20. So we've been doing it for 20 years. We're a digital marketing agency, historically a performance marketing agency. And we have kind of transformationally shifted to be more of a growth marketing consultant, helping brands grow and doing it online. So
Awesome.
Honored to be here, man.
Yeah, so happy for you to be here. Kevin?
Yeah, so I am the vice president at Logical Media Group. I had started as a 30-year-old intern 8 years ago with Logical. Prior to that, I was in radio, which is not exactly a growth industry, even though we're sitting here in front of these microphones. I started on the paid media side and was a part of building out our account management team, our e-commerce product, and then most recently, Chris sort of tasked me with overseeing the meeting point between our product and our relationship to our community and our customer. So essentially ensuring that what we're selling, what we're providing is aligned with the demand we see and we hear about when we go and have conversations like this.
Wow, fantastic. So from the ground floor you started as an intern, and now
Yeah.
you're overseeing certain things.
Yeah. No, I've seen it all, and fortuitous is the right word. I landed in a spot with a great CEO in Chris, and fortunately he, I think, saw something in me, or at least he was like, why is one of these interns bald? What's this guy? What kind of life experience does this guy bring to the table? Yeah. So yeah, I think it's one of those industries where I walked in and I was like, man, there's just so much opportunity and potential here if the right pieces and people get plugged in, and certainly that's relevant to what we're talking about today.
Wow, fantastic. Man, 19 years? 19?
Pretty crazy, yeah.
Wow, how did it all start?
It's cliche to say that kids change your life. I was a manager at IBM supporting software sales to the federal government, which was kind of a fun gig. And, again, cliche to say that kids change your life, but my wife and I got married, and then we decided to start a family, and I was like, holy cow, I got to pay for this kid that's coming. And so I started what people call a side hustle today. And I cracked a couple books on SEO and paid search. And I had a good friend that ran an agency that was growing. And so he was starting to cut the bottom. And I was like, why don't you pass me all the bottom leads that you don't want, the garbage. And they were small and not the best caliber clients. But and I faked it till I made it. He helped me a little bit with contracts and direction. I read books and essentially just did book reports on the books that I read for the brands that they were giving to me. And that was 19 years ago. We have 13 service lines, mostly all traffic gen. I mean, we buy ads on all the platforms where you could buy ads. Kevin was actually instrumental in carving out our marketplace team, starting with Amazon, so we have a lot of direct-to-consumer work. We have two kind of notches in our belt. We acquired two brands over the past 19 years.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, in 2014, we acquired a web design company. And in 2021, we acquired a creative agency. And both were instrumental in our growth. The web design company helped us with lead gen because they had great SEO and they were just cranking leads into our pipeline. And then
All through SEO?
Yeah. They ranked for like great general broad keywords. Yeah. Since then, web design has become less of like what we do for our business because it realized that we were more focused on helping brands grow, generating traffic, understanding who they are. And that's where the creative agency really helped. We started building a brand messaging, product. When we built it on our own, it wasn't very good, but it was something. And then when we acquired that brand, they came in and they were like, that's an okay product, but here's something much better. And then we started hiring against that creative product that we built out. So now we have a full-blown creative wing to our agency, working on messaging, how to identify the ICPs, who are the personas in those ICPs, how do you get messaging in front of those people to attract them, make an emotional connection, and bring them into the brand. You'd be surprised how many brands don't know who they are. Right? You meet a customer and you sit down and it's like, what do you guys want? And they're like, I want marketing. And I was like, okay, so let's sit down. And they don't have vision, mission, values. They don't understand who they are, what they want. And so that creative product actually helps extrapolate that from them. We can sit down with them and help them understand how they talk about themselves, who their target audience is, and how we can build a plan to go after that. So it's been a lot of fun. And Kevin, again, has been instrumental in so many areas of the business to help us kind of transformationally shift who we are. And that's an area that we are somewhat leading with now. Performance marketing is still there. It's something that we can tactically execute, but building a full-blown strategy to help brands grow is really becoming our sweet spot.
That's awesome. Yeah, you mentioned the strategy piece of it, and when you first opened up and you said we focus on growth and the growth company and focus on helping businesses grow. I mean, that's tremendous because you look at the whole strategic aspect of it. It isn't just a point solution where it's, we're doing, PPC or SEO. It's looking at the overall growth and the messaging. If you guys are getting all the way down to the mission, vision, core values, the full ICP, it's surprising, but it's not as surprising that companies don't know who their target market is. So you guys helping them find their target market is huge.
Yeah.
Identifying that ICP.
Yeah, I think we do more of the nuts and bolts than most full service agencies, and the reason is honestly pretty simple. Chris mentioned early on in the agency history, we had what I would call just a feeder. We had another agency that fed us those leads that were not good for a very long time. And over the years, they just kept getting bigger because the feeder agency got bigger. So we would get passed along clients that were suddenly more sophisticated. And so we did not evolve our product the same way everyone else gets to. We evolved ours as rapidly as we had to keep up with the types of leads that we were getting. So, fake it till you make it is one way of putting it. I like to say, Chris, is like, if you can just do things as a person, Chris would just be that person that's saying. And, we're always committed to trying, I think testing and growing. But if you look at the place where Logical lives right now is really in two areas. Number one is does a customer, does our customer understand their why? Which is, am I okay to cuss on here?
Yeah.
So we start with we have a sign up that just says nobody gives a shit. So with every client that we sign, we ask them that. It's like why do your customers give a shit about what you do? And they're like I don't know. So it starts with like, who are you? Why do your customers need you? What needle do you move in their life? And the second thing is like a lot of our customers have invested in these massive piles of technology. They have tech stacks 2 miles high, and they're not sure exactly what they've bought, what they're supposed to be doing with it, how that data flows. So we live in a right brain, left brain world in kind of an ironic way where we have, I would call them, more engineer type of individuals who are helping people like really understand where and how their data flows, what that means for their sales cycle, what it means for segmenting and qualifying their audiences, while on the other side of the board, our creative team is doing that really valuable work of extrapolating, to Chris's point, like just the who and the why that a lot of people don't have at this point.
Yeah, that's I can relate to that quite a bit, especially, you looked at all these different platforms and systems. We call it, platform sprawl, and you see the sprawl, and you trying to bring it down as, in tech, it isn't necessarily that we have a reduction in, let's say, budget per se.
Yeah.
The biggest thing is that you have all these tools, but in all reality, you have this effectiveness issue. Mm-hmm. You have all these platforms, all these tools. You mentioned the data. I know you guys have helped us out as well,
Sure.
which we appreciate. But just looking at how all these tools operate, you got all this investment. It isn't a lack of investment that companies have. They just don't know how to put it all together.
It's decision fatigue. Really, it's you have this overwhelm of everything that you hear about makes sense, right? You get pitched these softwares, and they make sense. The CRM company comes along and says, how great would it be if you could organize and segment and I think pace out your own sales trajectory the way that you want to. And you're like, yeah, that sounds great. Mm-hmm. And then intent models come on top of that. And all of a sudden you have all these tools, and your budget's probably a little, it's been stretched a little further, and you're sitting there like, I don't really know what to do with this. So I think Chris said that word earlier, consulting, which there's so many consultants in marketing. There's so many. And a lot of times that means you hire them to help you hire somebody else. A lot of times it's like we'll help you pick your agency. Where we want to consult is like we want to help you untangle the giant web of technology and messaging and stuff that for most people have lived inside of their computers now for 15 years. If you're a company that's been in existence for 10, 15, 20 years, you've been through several iterations of CMOs or marketing directors or whatever. There's just stuff everywhere. I think, and I'm sure it's the same for us. We're certainly not excluded from that list. So I think where we try to start from the consultation standpoint is let's get to the root of what is really essential in your data. Let's get to the root of what's really essential to your customers, and then we can build a marketing plan or a technology plan around that. And that I think is where we've had success in sort of outworking or out differentiating our competitors in that area.
Yeah, we tried to kind of play with the idea of treating all of the work that we do, the work that we deliver to the brands that we serve, as a utility. So think like, on the other side of the globe right now, everybody's using their lights because it's dark, and we don't need to do that, right? And then vice versa. So like, we found the most success with brands that have access to all of the services that we offer. So we can put a campaign together, develop landing pages, then run ads to those landing pages, pull leads in, pull them into a CRM, and like stand up services and stand them down in order to have the brands have access to everything. Yeah. And those are the stickiest, most successful relationships. And quite frankly, in order to grow successfully, you need to be doing all the things. Mm-hmm. I would imagine IT is no different. I mean, our space changes almost daily, it feels like, right? So you guys must have the same, like, new tools come out, new spaces, new things that you need to integrate, new challenges to solve, right? And it's like treating that like a utility and having your brands have access to everything is where we've had a lot of success. Yeah. And the barrier to entry is a little bit lower because if you were to hire us for all of our services, it can be expensive. So we want to make sure that the brands that we serve and work for have access to everything. So we, do this piece now, do this piece now, do this piece now.
Much different than the clients back 19 years ago, huh?
That's right.
Yeah, a little bit bigger budgets. Different philosophy on how they get things done.
My first client was named ZIG, and they sold little beads that you would assemble to, necklaces and bracelets. Mm-hmm. White site, hot pink link color. Hot pink.
Wow.
And they must have had 1,000 links on every page. So it was really it was kind of glaring to look at.
Yeah.
And I read The Unfair Advantage to Winning the Search Engine Wars, which was a book that Planet Ocean, which is like a Hawaii-based company, wrote. And then Moz, The Beginner's Guide to SEO. I just read both those books. And I put together a 50-page document, both sides, analyzing their SEO and making recommendations off of those two books. And I had no idea what to charge him. I charged him $500 for it. And the guy that was kind of mentoring me, the agency that fed us, he's like, Chris, this document's worth like $15,000, $20,000.
Yeah.
And I was, I had to kind of retrain myself to think of the value that I was providing, but I didn't really understand it back then because I was, again, faking it till I make it kind of thing.
Yeah.
I could do a book report, no problem.
I was going to ask you what those books were that you had mentioned that you picked up, you cracked open, that kind of built this. Started the beginning.
Yeah, my daughter started it. She's the troublemaker.
she started it. Okay, good. So having in the studio today, something that as I've gotten to know you, Chris, one thing when we first met, we really connected because we started talking about our business operations and a technology that is you're hearing about all the time, whether you in the media. YouTube, wherever you're at, you're hearing about it, and it's just two letters, AI.
Yeah.
And how AI is a big transformational piece within businesses, and what really got my attention is when you think of like marketing, and you look at all these marketing companies and how they deliver services and how they're doing things, and how you were forward-looking and some of the things that you were doing, and before we even got into kind of the details of how you're delivering certain services for your business, you brought up somebody who you were speaking about, and that was someone that by the name, I believe, Harry. So you started talking to me about Harry. I'm like, who's this Harry? You're talking about this AI and how things are operating, and you're doing these agents, and I just really grasped onto that, how you were looking at different ways your business can operate using AI and agents, and come to find you've been doing a lot of other things using AI, which I'm sure we're going to talk about here. But who's Harry?
Our journey with AI started right with everybody else's when ChatGPT was released. And Kevin and I just sat down and we were like, all right, man, how are we going to figure this out? So we said, let's get everybody a ChatGPT license. We'll start a company chat where we share what we've learned and we'll test this thing out and figure it out. And so that was 2024. 2025, we started building custom GPTs, which Kevin was, again, the architect of the first one that we built. And he's a tinkerer, and I'm going to let him tell you his story. But he's built some really cool custom GPTs. And right around the time that we were doing that, AI agents was the buzzword. And I was like, we're using the large language model. We're dabbling with some custom GPTs that are putting out some pretty cool output. But I was like, what does it mean to build an agent? And how can we do that? And I don't think that we can. So our web guy that heads up our web department, I sat down with him, and I said, can we do this? And he said, I think so. And so we just started banging it out, right? Knocking out code. And this was before MCPs were out. We did the IDEs, independent development environments.
Yep.
So we started working with Cursor.
Yeah.
There are a bunch of them out there.
Yeah.
And it's as amazing as ChatGPT is, because you just use language, and there is some code knowledge that's helpful in terms of like organization that I think our web guy was very instrumental in helping with that. But the concept for Harry, which was and I say this very loosely because it took a lot of effort and we weren't sure we were going to be able to be successful, but the concept for Harry is that he was an HR agent. And we didn't know what to call him. We also didn't know it was going to be successful. So we named him Harry, which is the name of my dog. And it just sounded kind of good, HR Harry.
Yeah.
And we took our employee handbook, which our director of HR arguably has us overly compliant for a less than 50-person shop. But our HR handbook it's 300 pages. And so we put it on the cloud. We codified a block of code that has logic in terms of like how the agent queries into the handbook. And then we connected ChatGPT to that, deployed Harry onto a server, and he queried into the handbook on the cloud and was pull back responses that were accurate. And so we added him as a chat. We're a Google shop, so we added him to our GChat. So when you load our GChat, you see all of our employees, and then you see Harry listed there. And you can ask Harry any questions, like, what are the company holidays this year? Or what's our next company holiday, which is traditionally one of the most popular questions that our teammates ask. But how do I enroll in the 401k plan, right? How do I take a day off? All these questions that took my director of HR's time away from going after bigger wins. Yeah. So we calculated that it took up about 20% of her time. And that's a lot of time. I don't know anybody that wouldn't want 20% of their time back. Mm-hmm. And so she is a phenomenal recruiter, and Kevin has actually been very instrumental. In 19 years, I've never been able to sustain keeping employees the way that Kevin's kind of helped change our culture, where people used to walk out the company door and flip us off when they left. And now it's like if anybody leaves, they're crying on their way out. And he has a lot to do with the reason for that and the culture that we have internally. The reason I preface that is because we have to constantly recruit for churn, right? Employees leave, and it's like you have to backfill quickly. Otherwise, that's disruptive in a services-based business. Absolutely. And so we have one of the best recruiters on this planet. And I had a client call me and say, Chris, you got to stop what you're doing. Your marketing is too good, and I can't staff fast enough to fulfill on the work that you're bringing in.
That's not a common.
Right. It doesn't always happen like that. But I said, I'm not going to take my foot off the accelerator. Absolutely not. I'll help you staff. And so we hired for them, and we charged them for us. They paid us, and then we started to repeat that.
Yeah.
And so we started that service line last year because Harry was working, and Tara, our director of HR, was in the building for 7 of the 12 months because she was on maternity. She went out on maternity leave for 4 months. So in those 7 months, she generated probably between 30 to 50 grand in revenue recruiting. Wow. So it's important as a CEO and a founder, a business operations person, to keep your eye on what you do as opposed to the next shiny object syndrome. But we have a service line now that we have started recruiting for a multitude of channels. So it's been an interesting outcome that, a lot of people talk about creating AI in order to create efficiency to go after bigger wins. And that's just a nice narrative because we created Harry. We didn't think we could make him. Yeah. And he worked. And then not only did it save my director of HR's time, but it created an opportunity to generate revenue. And that was an outstanding outcome.
That's amazing. I mean, how have you, just being part of an organization like that, that's also incorporating a lot of this technology and forward looking, how has that impacted you and, the things that you're doing?
I mean, yeah, it's defined my year for certain because number one, I do deal with sort of the internal backlash is the right word. So I mean, Chris and I are both like I'd kind of take my cues from him. Chris is quite fearless in terms of let's go try and test. And I'm kind of the same way, but our staff and our industry is the exact opposite. In my experience, marketers are about as fear and change averse as people you're going to meet. They find comfort in systems and repeatability, and everything needs to kind of fit inside of neatly organized boxes. And AI is a tremendous threat to that because all they hear about is this is going to take your job, which of course is not true. I don't think that's remotely true. But also I think it threatens the idea that that you bring something of value. If somebody can just prompt their way into what you do, it's I think it's challenging, not just like on the surface, but like generally, like what value do I bring to the organization? So I think one thing we did in the beginning is we took a pretty strong stance internally that our philosophy on this is that these tools are only going to serve to I think expand the capabilities, the imagination, and the potential of every employee we have. So we want this to be something that you can build your own skill set upon. Number two is we are, as you just heard Chris say, we have never necessarily been an agency that kind of set out proactively and said, okay, we're doing this. We've always sort of been reactive to our environment. It's just the nature of how we were started. And in that sense, it means that I would love to put a flag in the ground with these types of tools and say, okay, now we're kind of going on offense for the first time, and this is what we're going to do. So the things that I see AI enable in our world, everybody wants a couple of things from their marketing partner that they rarely get, and that's why agencies have terrible reputations. For the most part, is everybody wants that consistent communication. They just want to be able to pick up the phone and call somebody and be heard. Number two is everybody wants to be told, for lack of a better phrase, what to do. Right? It's like I don't need these giant reports. I don't need. Just tell me what I'm supposed to be doing because everyone asks if I do marketing. I don't know how to answer them, so on and so forth. What these tools like Harry do is they give people who don't normally have access to that type of insight access in a way. And to go back to Harry, the joke I made with Chris when I was being mean to him in the beginning is I was like, congratulations, you invented Control F, right? I was like, what you're talking about is just a document where I go and look for something. I already know how to do that.
That's right.
I was like, I'm not sure how that's different. And the difference is that it's that next level of predictive questioning that comes after that. So the employee who said, how do I, what's the next company holiday? Or how do I know how many days off I have left, how many PTO days? There's always a next question on that line. You've done this. You've run businesses long enough. The next question is, well, actually, can I get two more, or can I take three in a row, even though it says that I'm not able to? So there's always a question behind a question, and that back and forth, that ping pong of question and answer, can take up an hour or two of your day sometimes, and you get done and you're like, I can't believe I just spent my time doing this. This is a disaster of a day for me, right? I mean, low impact tasks, and so. What a tool like Harry does, if you you mentioned we work together, but mostly in that technology sector. But if you just have a question of say a board member says what's our most effective strategy we have going right now, I'm in the same boat. If you email me that, I'm like, God, come on, John. I'm like, I have other stuff to do. I can't. So I mean, I think we're trying to solve that problem, but that you getting that answer in a really helpful way, but also in a timely way, it matters. It's it's at the crux of our entire professional relationship. So we want to build tools, and we have built tools that allow you to ask that question and get not just a response back that X campaign or X creative asset. It's gonna provide authoritative context around what that means for what you should do. And so if it comes back and it says, okay, we used a white paper that EMPIST wrote in a LinkedIn ad that was designed for this type of business, and we saw really good success from CEOs or C-suite level people. The implication here is you should probably write more of these white papers. And the implication is that these people are reading these things on the weekends. By the way, CEOs, we convert all the time with CEOs on weekends, because that's when you guys sit down and actually get to your LinkedIn. But it's instructive. It is context building. It is world building. That kind of stuff can be done rapidly for a CEO with AI. you care about speed. Chris cares about speed. I care about speed. Not everybody does, right? Like your associate Marty, who we work with, Marty might be like, I don't need it fast. I need it great. I need it thorough. I need it like perfect. So I mean, I think understanding what these tools are doing, who they're intended for, is really important, because again, we don't want to diminish the capability of the staff that we're really proud to have hired and developed here. But I think there's a way to serve a broader scope of people that we've never been able to tap into that's now possible, which is exciting for somebody in my position.
Look, if you can provide, as part of the context piece of it, and, when you start talking and we start talking about Harry and having an agent that can actually help, and you can free up the time where people can be put on more higher value activities, then you're going to drive satisfaction from your team, because now they feel like, what they're doing is making a difference. It isn't just answering, that HR person isn't answering the basic PTO question anymore. Yeah. And they feel more empowered and they're doing more, and you can put them more on higher value activities. Yeah. And, it's great how you're incorporating the AI. And I'm a firm believer, AI isn't going to replace, engineers or marketers. It's going to replace the marketers or engineers who aren't embracing the AI piece of it. So, there's this fear you hear about all the time. I mean, okay, these jobs and all these things, but it's definitely going to replace people who are not incorporating AI. We know that. I mean, as business owners and operators working in business, would you be able to do what you do today without it? Right. I wouldn't be able to do it.
No, I think, here's, we have a couple of good examples. So I think really quality, really technical content still cannot be written by an AI engine to the in the same capacity that can by like a really strong writer. That's something that has not been replaced. However, there's plenty of brands out there who don't need very strong technical writing, and so like if we're able to provide them with really quality, non-slop, type of work up front, and then lead them to a path where, okay, you've set the foundation. Now we'd like to let you explore what's really possible by taking on a more human element to that. That to me is the appropriate. That's where you see AI be a helper in a journey that otherwise they feel like they're being replaced. But really, it's like they're kind of doing that upfront sales for you. It's unbelievably exciting. Are you familiar with like the website Vibe Coders, like a Lovable or something like that? So Chris introduced me to Lovable. I fell in love with Lovable pretty fast. I don't build websites for it. What I learned is we offer it's a very small part of our business. It's an optimization called a landing page optimization. So somebody gives us a page, we mark it up to be better, to basically perform better from an SEO strategy standpoint. It's a really ugly deliverable. It looks like a document that's just been marked up. It's like a red line contract. Our clients do not like it. I know for sure. I've had a lot of conversations. Just for, just out of curiosity, I kind of threw that into Lovable instead. It's not a website, but I was like, can you make this deliverable into a live site example so the client can see it? That takes 2 seconds. I sent it over. The difference in reaction has been incredible. The difference in our ability to sell these very small optimizations has been like dramatic. I mean, like really the client's like, I now understand. That's an example of a tool doing something really quickly that allows me to sell more work that's still done by human individuals on our team, and that's using AI as a collaborator and not as like some terrifying replacement. And I try to tell those stories. I still think there's like this idea out here that you're either for it or against it or whatever. And in reality, to your point, people who embrace it, which could mean a lot of different things, are going to end up having an advantage, even if they're not directly using it, even if it's just a part of their ecosystem.
Absolutely. Man, Harry, going back to Harry, I mean, so you eat your own dog food. You got this, I love it because you guys are incorporating so many different things that you're trying to also, I'm sure, having discussions with your clients on things that they need to be incorporating and how they're operating their business, especially because you're focusing on growth. And we know this part of the technology is going to be something that is going to really help these organizations propel. How has it changed the AI piece of it? I mean, you hear PPC, SEO, conversion rate optimization. Utilizing AI, how have you found, Chris, I'll ask you, how have you found by incorporating AI, how is it actually, outside of the internal tool where, you have this Harry who's your HR administrator, what types of things have you done and how have you been able to utilize AI to actually create a better product for your customers?
Yeah, that's a loaded question. Yeah. The beauty is like what Kevin was actually saying, and we do a lot of personality profiling assessing to help kind of understand how we can work together. And it's like, this guy wants to move faster than anybody on this planet. And
Good.
yeah,
Speed.
which is a great attribute.
Can be.
And yeah, and they're like,
As long as the brakes don't go out.
Sure.
I truly believe that Kevin's like genius in tinkering with the stuff that we've built stems from his want and desire to move quickly, right? So it's like, I can do this much faster if I create this tool, and then I don't have to do the mundane work. And that's where our product has really evolved into something that's better that we offer to our clients. And it's quite frankly, it was originally delivered to our employees, because every employee in every building, in every company on this planet does mundane, low-level tasks that take up a lot of time. And it's like, if we can give our employees a better experience where they can move faster, right, and not have to spend time on those mundane tasks that take up a lot of their time, then they're spending their. I mean, we pay a lot of great people, good salaries, and they're smart, and it is a waste of their time, right? Imagine now if they're spending, instead of 80% of their time on tasks that take up majority of the day, and then 20% of their time actually executing strategic work to think about how brands can grow. We've inverted that. So now it's like, you got 20% of your time. You still have to address and put your eyes on the mundane tasks, right? Because the AI does not exist without a human in the loop. But now I've given you 80% of your time to work on what really matters. And so that's allowed us to execute for brands, in a way that's more successful and faster.
Well, that starts with you. I mean, you've embraced that. I mean, you're empowering your team by utilizing technologies. I mean, and even with the things that Kevin's been doing you mentioned the first kind of GPTs that he was creating on ChatGPT and going into and evolving it into something that's much larger, and then empowering the team that's a testament of how you're doing things too within the organization, because there could be complete resistance to certain things and the change of it. But, we're on the topic of AI, I mean, I believe that you either have to embrace it or it will run you over. You have to embrace that side of things, and if you don't embrace it and be open to the change and how you incorporate things into the business, it will eventually run you over, and then you will lose so much market share that things are evolving so quickly.
You are not wrong.
I mean, if you can't embrace it now, 6 months from now, who knows what it's going to look like. Things are changing so quickly.
I mean, John, you've got 26 years, man. So
Yeah.
you got me beat by 7. But I will say, like, our space, the technology changes, and it feels like every year I have to adapt, innovate, pivot, and address what's in the market, right, or what was just released, or what new shiny object was just released.
Yeah.
And there's always a sense of like it being a race and getting there first, or being able to adopt and adapt. And ChatGPT and AI and everything that's going on right now is no different. However, I will tell you, for me personally, like in the beginning, I was like, here we go again, but this is a big one. This is bigger than all the other ones that we've had. And so it certainly gave me some anxiety, but I had so much interest about it, right, that I kind of get excited about it versus having it give me fear. And the fact that at least we are on the wave. Right, I'm not behind it. We are on it. I am very pleased with the technology that we've developed internally to offer to our customers and to our employees. But quite frankly, I just get excited about it, man. Like, it is cool.
Yeah, it's
and
really
like
exciting.
it's an exciting time to be alive, because we're going to see some really cool shit in our lifetime, man.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
Yeah. So, I mean, from a marketing perspective, and you look at content, and content, is king, and, you look at how content's being generated. What amount of content you look at out there? I mean, Kevin, this would be for you, but just how much of the content right now that we're consuming on a daily basis would you consider as being generated, AI generated, versus an author, someone sitting down with a blank canvas writing a paper now versus incorporating AI?
Yeah, so it's a lot. I mean, and the good thing is, I think you can kind of tell. And that word, it's that S word I used earlier that I hate, is slop. I hate when people use it, but the creatives in our house are, they are. I'll be frank, they're violently opposed to like this type of stuff because content in our world, content isn't just the written. It's video. It's kind of everything. I mean, it's a social media post. It's all kind of there. And it's pretty easy to see slop when you're on there. If you're on LinkedIn, I would say 95% of what you're reading on LinkedIn has at least been touched up by it, right? And LinkedIn incentivizes, frankly, that type of writing. But this is where I differ from everybody else, because when our team gets like very up in arms about this, and they do about like, well, it's just there's so much slop, everybody's putting out so much junk. I'm like, that should excite you. As a true creative, that means that you have an opportunity to zag in a way that's going to stand out. The best thing that could happen to you if you're a great creative is for the entire world to start putting junk out, because it gives you a place to go and build and create a space that's authentic and real. And that's not always how the marketer mind works. But I think it's how Chris and I typically see things, is the cheese moves and there's opportunity that comes from it. But it's a good question, because I think people are trying to basically see what works, and I think it puts a lot of challenge on Google in particular. Google's trying really hard to figure out what to reward and what not to reward. So they theoretically have said in the past, as long as you write something on AI that's still relevant to the business and it's relevant to the end user, that's okay. They don't have a huge problem with it. They're realistic. That was sort of their first stance. We found out here recently that Google has. They've started kind of thinking about potentially using their own tools to rewrite your own landing page for you if they feel like it's not written well enough for the end user in order to improve their own conversion rates. That's how fast that changed, of them being like, let's be cautious here, to actually we're just going to do it on your behalf. So there's this massive rush to say, okay, like everyone thinks they need to be putting something out all the time, which is not untrue. How can we get stuff out in as high a volume and as high a velocity as possible without it feeling inauthentic? And so you're seeing a lot of spaghetti thrown at the wall right now, and the public and also the algorithms will sort of decide what flies and what doesn't, which I think is really interesting. But I also understand it's very overwhelming. We're all kind of being forced to just get this onslaught of kind of weird, off-putting, obviously robot created stuff every day.
Kevin has a great expression: zig when everybody else is zagging. And I love it. And it's like I have adopted it, because don't follow the norm, right? Be different. And so that's hard to do sometimes, especially with everything that's going on today. I would say that number is probably like above 75%, by the way.
Yeah. It's like just under 100.
Just
There's 99 and a half.
Right, just to quantify it for you. But going back to that creative product, there is a space for AI to create content, to create messaging, to create creative. Absolutely. But when we go back to the model of how do you serve a brand that's a good fit for you, and sometimes that's budget, sometimes that's their goals, their intent, there is a product that we can deliver good creative, acceptable creative, essential level creative that any brand would need to advertise. However, there is another tier to that brand, whether you're in a growth model or in maybe kind of a premier status, where we hire very talented, expensive copywriters, whether it's specific to a vertical that a brand comes in on, or we just need to write good copy. Yeah. We hire guys that have a lifetime of experience in writing and have a command over the English language in a way that I admire. And it is expensive, but the product is so much more effective. And that's not only on Kevin and I like to call it fonts and colors, right? But it's like not only the written word, but the actual creative assets that are made. AI can make them, right? And you can get something that's reasonably passable. But when you put a lot of thought and strategy behind the creative that you're putting together that mirrors with that messaging, it is a far superior product, and it doesn't have AI influence in it.
It's that starts with why thing, because our copywriter put it. We actually had this conversation with him recently, and he put it really well, which is AI will most likely accidentally string together a few sentences that make sense. And so if you're telling an AI tool to go write your ad copy for your ads, they'll probably get it right. But it doesn't go down to that core of why should an EMPIST customer or a prospective EMPIST customer, why should they care? What is it about you that's different? And that does require nuance. Because you guys have different audiences. You have different types of companies, and those people have different motivators. And I think one thing in marketing that we have to deal with is that for most of our clients, when they're actually shopping for an agency, realistically, if you take the entire year, the entire calendar, 3 to 5% of the year, they're actually open to buying something from us. You know what I mean? Like our market to get in and like sell somebody something is so incredibly small, because people typically have these like very established buying calendars, or a need pops up, or they buy a piece of technology, whatever. For you, I'm sure that's different. For everybody, that's different. But like the realistic situation is like all of us, I think, have a much smaller window of time where our customers are actually open to buying what we sell than we like to think that we do. We want to believe there's a bigger window out there. AI can help you do some research around that. It can help you write decent copy. Human beings still have the corner on understanding psychology, and I think like market analysis of like this is exactly when, where, why to strike based on pain points, based on motivators and stuff like that. So I think that's what we offer, or we try to offer, is we try to make tools who can do the best baseline work. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's like if your business depends on you writing some really good copy that's going to compel another CEO to pick up the phone and be like, I'm ready to buy for you in this small window, I think you're probably going to want to trust that to somebody who has that 20 years of experience as opposed to, just like an algorithm that wrote.
I was skeptical.
Yeah.
I was skeptical. And if you look at the two products next to each other, the one that's put out by a trained copywriter is vastly superior. Same with the creative. And I'm not skeptical anymore.
Yeah.
But not that it's subjective, right? That's my perspective. But also the performance of the brands that we use that version of is vastly superior too.
I think our prospects are really skeptical. I mean, if I came to you tomorrow, because we do technology stuff with EMPIST, but if John came to me and said, okay, give me a proposal for, a LinkedIn and Google campaign, if I came back to you and I said you can pay 35% more for, you're probably gonna be like, I don't know. you're gonna be like, I want to understand. I want to understand why this is worth it. So it is. I completely get it. I understand entirely. It is. There are a million things happening in the world. Everything is getting easier. All technology, so much is about just making your life easier and less inconvenient in every way. And it's a hugely important thing to remember that that's not always better. You know what I mean? Friction is good. And like a lot of people just don't want to get on the phone with an agency sales rep. God knows I know this, right? Like it's like I try not to refer to myself as that because I know they don't want to, but they also don't want to get on the phone with somebody who's going to ask them annoying questions like, why do your customers give a shit about what you do? That's a forced point of reflection a lot of people don't want to have. It's not supposed to be easy, right? It's not supposed to be something you can just do without ever leaving your house or getting in front of people. This is all meant to be hard, and the successful people are successful because they take time. So I think, it's one of these things where we want to provide a tool that allows for speed or simplicity or I think decision-making velocity in order to do more in a month. But what we don't want to do, is pretend like that we can make it easier for you to scale up your $10,000 in media spend overnight just because, you heard that everybody's doing AI and it's working for, the guy around the corner.
Yeah. Look, I mean, the AI piece of it, you have the human element of it. You have to have a really strong, sound strategy because AI will not fix a bad strategy.
Sure.
I think we would all agree. It's not
it can
like
accelerate it.
It can accelerate a bad strategy in the wrong way.
Yeah.
So, but it's really building that strategy, and if you're incorporating it, and these are the conversations that we're having with clients as well. We have to have that conversation with them because if we're not having it, somebody else will. And you want to be there and having conversations with those customers so they can start looking at different ways. And there's different possibilities. Yes, most people just know it as, help me draft an email, help me with, writer's block. But the reality is there's so many things that can do. And you found a great opportunity just to kind of get you guys started. Yes, you did ChatGPT. You got these premium licenses. People were using it. Then it spawned into Harry, which is leads perfectly into my next segue. Tell us a little about Sage.
Another custom GPT that Kevin created.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was in the same spirit, like, let's go see if we can build this thing. And in my mind, we had a proof of concept that worked with Harry. We had learned a lot about how to code or how to build the code for it and how to stitch the pieces together. So I sat down with Kevin and I was like, our largest channel is paid media where we buy ads. I was like, can we create a tool for that team that offers to save them 20% of their time? And so that's where Sage was born. And, I asked my guy again who built Harry, I was like, do you think we could do this? And he said, when he said yes to Harry, it was sort of a skeptical yes. But this one, he was like, yeah, we can do it.
Yeah.
And Model Context Protocol, or MCPs, had been released at this time. We had connected Harry through what was called RAG, which is Retrieval Augmented Generation. So it's like, think the agent and the LLM to a cloud repository. MCPs allowed you to connect directly into platform. Mm-hmm. So we made it a lot faster. We started initially by we started with Google Ads, pay-per-click. we started taking the data out of the Google Ads platform and putting it on the cloud and connecting like we did with Harry to the handbook. MCP allowed us to go directly into the platform, which made it much faster.
Into Google Analytics or Google
So
Ads.
the scalability of it is now is going to be tremendous. Also something that gets me really excited. It's almost changing us into a SaaS company. So it's like Kevin's got to keep me centered, right? Because it's like I'm selling recruiting services, I'm selling software technology, and we're a marketing agency.
Yeah.
But again, by design, it was to help our team be more efficient. So the two cool things that Sage has that Harry doesn't really have is that we trained Sage's code to think in two different ways. One, we took all the logic that Kevin put into the custom GPT and we hard-coded it into Sage's code. So words like strategy, words like optimization, words like actions from insights, what do all those words mean? And we specifically define them. Because the last thing that I want to see on a deck that you're seeing from my team is, oh, John, this area is not performing well, we're going to optimize it. That's not okay. Like, Kevin, that drives us up the wall. What you want is like, this needs to be optimized, and here are 10 things that we are going to do.
Exactly.
Right? So we trained Sage to think that way. Don't just say this is performing badly and it needs to be optimized. Do deeper research and come up with concrete recommendations for what you can do to improve it.
Yeah.
So Harry is a chatbot in our GChat. Sage is a full-blown web application. So you go to a subdomain on our site, it loads a page, and we've connected Google Ads right now, and Google Analytics and Search Console. So Sage can be very effective in paid search SEO, because those are the three platforms, obviously, that you would use for that. We're now going to be adding Meta, we're going to be adding LinkedIn, we're going to be adding TikTok, but it's cool. So you select the platform that you want to query into, and then it looks just like an LLM, right? It's got a prompt window. You ask it a question, but instead of it going out into the world and trying to assess an answer to the question, it's using your data, right? That's inside the Google Ads platform or inside Search Console or inside Google Analytics. And it will give you a response just like an LLM does. And then you can continue to query into it. Or if you're happy with what's there, you can, this is the best part, you could click a button and it ejects a slide deck of the analysis. So right now the queries take anywhere from 1 to 3 minutes.
Oh, that's a long time.
Yeah, it's a very long time in this world.
Yeah.
Very, very long time. But relative to like,
compared to doing it manually.
Right. So like if
I mean, it'd probably take 3 hours.
The last deck I put in, I did 4 prompts.
Yeah.
So that took 12 minutes, maybe 10. The deck takes also about a minute to generate. Yeah. So you're talking about under 15 minutes of what normally takes our team 8 hours.
So
5 to 8 hours.
Here's where this one was what like really got me excited because like the term like wins above replacement in baseball. Mm-hmm. So this is where I figured out and I this is probably the most obnoxious I've been with our team in retrospect. I'm sorry, but I built this tool because you mentioned earlier, I hate like low impact stuff. And so I was like, I want to be able to feed data into it. And I want to get my entire deck written for me and it needs to be right. I built a tool where that was working. And I said, okay, great. I am going to start just pistol whipping my way through deck prep using this tool. And what I want to see is I'm not going to be better than the best marketer. I'm not going to do this better than the best. Can I do it better than the average marketer? Can I beat the average person at their own game? And I think I can do the work of 10 people in a day by using this tool. At that point, we did not have the deck builder yet, which honestly would have taken that number from 10 to 20. So I'm feeding it, I'm feeding it data. I have this thing coded out to like spit back the insights the way I want them. They're going into a slide, and I'm comparing that to the work our team is doing, and I'm like, this is better. I'm like, I'm beating the average person on our team pretty squarely. And so when you think about it from wins above replacement for an agency like ours, and we're not this type of agency, we don't have 300 clients, we don't churn out that kind of stuff. But like, if you are that type of agency, and there's plenty of them, this is revolutionary. This is absolutely huge because you're cutting hours and hours and hours out of it, and the client's getting a better product. Every tool that you guys use, everyone's trying to do this right now. This is the most common thing that's trying to be like HubSpot. Has this rolled out. Triple Whale is like trying to do stuff like this, where it's these little insight tools of like, we want to give you this little thing. And then can you get it into a deck? If whoever kind of gets to this point first is going to win in a big way. It's insane that Google's like not even remotely close or Meta or like that.
They were slow on Gemini.
Right. So this turned into a thing where I was like, okay, on the media side, this doesn't involve a creative. This is not replacing a human, or it's going to, and I was happy for it to. This is just pure, unbridled, good insight coming back. And what the term that I keep using with our team is this is our Chick-fil-A model. And what I mean by that is, it's you have to pay a lot to get an agency who doesn't suck at just giving you the bare minimum. That's pretty much it. Like if you've ever hired a $1,000 a month agency, which maybe you have earlier in your life, you get there and you just have that awful taste in your mouth. Like, I see why people don't do this. You know what I mean? I see why you invest a little bit more. You have to pay your way into getting this, like, just the basic stuff done correctly. We're going to use these types of tools to offer what I think is probably a more economical package out of Logical that's going to do the couple really small things unbelievably well. And the fact that you're going to be able to get a report that doesn't look like it just got generated by SEMrush and then emailed automatically to you, it's going to be legitimate, with insight, with direction, based in fact, and also perspective that goes back 60, 90 days, whatever you want to look at. That's something that I'm not going to beat everybody at that, but we're going to beat most of our competitors, like, soundly, because people just they just cut corners and they do a bad job. And that's what most business owners really want. And so I think, like, that's where I start to get excited about these tools and the possibilities. Is I don't care about replacing jobs. I don't want to, but at the end of the day, it's like, I get excited when that light bulb goes off. And I'm like, oh, I can beat people who want to take our business away from us. I can beat them very badly, very soundly, by just, like, doing these fundamentals and building out with that kind of stuff. So that stuff, like, fires me up and gets me going. Yeah. And then Chris, feeds off that, and then he's like, I'm gonna give it Marisa. So he and I we're terrible influences on each other. we get each other fired up, and then the rest of our staff's like, what is going on? But yeah, I mean, I think in that particular case, that was a huge win for us. And and I think everybody who, even though we're still at that 1 to 3 minute mark, everybody who we've shown it to has been like, I see the vision, I understand.
Oh yeah,
the,
I mean,
the
absolutely.
thought behind it.
I mean, you see you're able to provide a tremendous amount of value in a short amount of time that has full contextual awareness. That, again, it isn't about replacing jobs. It's actually creating more jobs, because if you're able to help your clients grow their businesses faster.
Exactly.
So
then we can recruit for them.
And you can recruit for them. Yeah. But that's truly, I mean, if you get somebody where they see full insights and all that data, and you provide those actionable insights.
The next up, so the next tool that we're kind of rolling out in beta right now does a very similar thing, which is that, so you guys are in the IT space, which is crowded, right? I mean, you have a lot of competitors. So to put content on your site is a big deal, because I'm sure you guys have white papers and all these kind of things, case studies. Our next tool basically is a research tool that helps you understand where to compete with the content on your site and why. And so for you guys, if you put out an article about cybersecurity, cyber safety, saving money, whatever it is you do. There are two. You just used the term, which is why this prompted, was like contextual authority. So contextual or operational authority. What have you done? Like, what does EMPIST actually accomplish for a client that can be documented on a page? That is what currently is, like, winning in the SEO realm. That's what's currently going to get you rankings or citations and LLMs. Is not just writing an article that's to the benefit of the user. It's a how-to. It's a how John did it. That's the kind of stuff that works. And so, finding this little narrow, you can't just write it anymore. You have to offer some sort of window to the user into, like, why you know that, why you have the authority to speak on it. The next tool we're rolling out is sort of like a site-wide audit that goes into your Search Console and understands your personas and comes back with, here's a content map. And every agency in the world delivers a content strategy map. Ours is based, number one, it's persona-based, which no one else is really doing. And number two, it is giving you specific instruction on, don't just write the article. Have John go sit in his podcast studio and do a 2-minute video that goes with it to be like, let me tell you the story of when we actually did this. And that is what gets people over the hump. And so, that's something that it's not anything but a collaborative partner in that sense, but it's something that's going to make a huge difference for ourselves and, more importantly, to our clients. And it's going to shorten your time from your path from campaign launch to, like, target hit.
Yeah. How's SGE and impacting SEO and with LLMs now? Again, people are using these ChatGPT, for example, as a search engine and replacing kind of the Google approach. How is what have you guys seen as far as out there in the market that strategy-wise, especially an impact by incorporating that, how you're changing site content, various things could impact that.
What was the? I sent Chris like a cartoon a couple months ago, and it was like CEOs everywhere being like, "What do we want?" And it's like AI, and it's like,
why?
Yeah, what should it do? It's like I don't know.
I have no idea.
This ironically is probably this is the question I get the most often is people calling up being like, "Can you explain to me sort of what we're supposed to do?" The only answer to this is it's a tracking black box right now. It's really hard to ascertain exactly what's happened. Everyone's traffic is down, for the most part. If you're running a normal type of business that's not traffic generating, your traffic's down, and it's being, your sources are being split up into a million different places, and everybody kind of wants to understand why. Going back to it, our team is very doom and gloom about this sometimes. I see it as awesome. Every time something like this happens, I'm like, great. Uncertainty is blood in the streets for us, which means, buy real estate. So I want to go, plant our flag that I don't care about answering the question right. I just want to say, come follow us and be along for the journey while we research and test. You know what I mean? Again, that's a marketer's nightmare, but it's like it's an explorer's kind of fantasy in terms of how to get to work. So to answer your question, it's ongoing conversation. It's ongoing hand wringing, and it's that overwhelm word I use. People are unsure about what to do, and so my recommendation, I don't know if you have a different thought on this, is just sign up for the ride, which is that like the next 3 or 4 years is going to be constant testing, putting things. It's that spaghetti noodle against the wall thing to see what works. But find an agency partner that actually does those things that innovates, with aggression, and then I think make sure you have a clear look at what's working and what's not.
Yeah, Kevin's not wrong, and traffic is down. But what's cool is search engines aren't being used less as a ChatGPT or any large language model as a replacement. What's cool is that the size of the pie just got bigger because LLMs got added to it. Right? So it's not taking away from search, it's just adding another piece that's making the pool larger because people are using both. The reason why when you look at attribution the traffic is down is because of AEO, right? I love getting that answer right at the top. I don't click through anymore, right? For a lot of the things that I use Google search for. So I take comfort in that. Who knows what the future is going to look like? AI is certainly, we've been talking about it for the past hour, how it's going to disrupt. So it is difficult to kind of predict what that's going to look like. The good thing is, though, we've done so much, and I guess everybody has, but we've spent a lot of time understanding how large language models work, right? So when you think about deep research or the pool of data that they use to answer their questions, it's all internet data. So websites are still crucially important to tactically get yourself to show up in their searches. So that's a big part of like the SEO that we're doing for ranking in search engines is also very similar to the SEO that you're doing to rank in an LLM.
Yeah.
So you want to consistently have those types of publications or edits to sites because that's the tool, that's the location that they're training their models on and answering questions on. So it's interesting, like the semantic side of search went from long tail to short tail to now it's kind of long tail again based on how you ask an LLM a question. It's not short tail, right? Like cars in New Jersey for rent. That's not how you search in an LLM. It's like, show me where the best rental car places are in Hoboken, New Jersey, and it will go and research that off of the internet and bring you a list of sites. So you want to kind of optimize for those types of searches, if that makes sense.
I was just going to say it's also made, like tracking, server side tracking, data tracking, like the way that you house and collect data on your customers is that's the other big change we made to our agency is we split that out into its own department. We have an entirely separate department now for analytics and insight because simultaneous to all of these platforms deciding to make everything more complicated, the legal branch of our world government said you also can't just like track people without restriction anymore, and so it's really complicated to understand who's coming to your site and why, and that's why like first party data has been something that's been really coming up, and there is like there's kind of a gold rush happening right now of kind of the boomer generation of business owners who are retiring and they have these like legacy websites of like 10, 15 years that have email list of like 25, 30, 100,000 people. And I talk to them all the time, like, well, I might just shut it down. I'm like, well, I'm like, I'm not sure you understand kind of, again, that little kind of gold spring you're sitting on. But yeah, I mean, first party data, direct interaction with your customers, like the ability to measure things like incrementality, never been more important. And it does come back to what you're asking, is because everybody, again, they kind of just like, well, all right, I'll do the AI stuff and then I'm good, right? Then I'm technically doing SEO again. Well, no, this is all becoming more complicated, unfortunately. And, setting your website up to receive the traffic is great. Setting yourself up to measure and make decisions around how that traffic behaves once it gets there is a whole other thing, and it's complicated.
Well, it's great that you guys are thinking about it on both sides. You're looking at the SEO side, you're incorporating the LLM side, and having a partner that's really thinking about that holistically and the different types of technologies and how it can impact, and also the data points too, so you can actually tell a story as to what's happening. But with that being said, and yes, if traffic is down, marketing is something that most businesses, as much as I disagree with, is oftentimes one of those things that they cut when they look at budget. They're like, marketing.
First thing to go.
It is not uncommon for you to speak to a business owner and ask them how many agencies they've worked with, and it's 6, a dozen, whatever. Every other year they have a different agency.
Was that in the last 12 months? Or?
Yeah. And why? Because they wanted instant gratification, and they thought that their product was the best product in the world, and everybody was waiting and knocking on their door, and that just didn't happen. So how do you guys combat that? Like, okay, traffic's down. It's something that's outside of your control right now, but you're talking more strategically. Having that conversation with somebody or someone right now, they're spending all this money, not with you or anybody, and then they're like, well, I'm not getting the result that I want. Just, bear with us. It's going to take a little bit longer. Bear with us. It's going to take a little. Yeah. What other value can businesses really look at that you can drive and deliver to?
That's insanely good question.
Yeah.
I mean, Chris has gotten a little grayer, and I've lost the rest of it with that exactly. We respond to it, in my opinion, with nothing but naked aggression. That's it. I mean, like this is a time where if you're an agency and you're just kind of sit and like wait to see what happens to you, I think you'll be done. And I mean, it's a bad time. It's just candidly, this is not the golden age of running a digital marketing agency. We go at this as aggressively as possible. Number one is we've invested where I think other people have probably cut. We have increased our payroll at the top end on specialists. Chris mentioned earlier we're hiring really best in class creatives and copywriters. We're increasing our tech stack to accommodate different types of data projects. Some of this has been rewarded already. Some of it will be in the past, or in the future. But I think to answer it is. I'm gonna go for the jugular of everybody that I talk to, and really challenge them. If they come back and say, okay, well, I just can't afford this, and of course the answer is you can't afford not to, and that's a cop out one. But I mean, it's true, which is that, you said earlier, the people who are going to win are the people who use AI. The people who are going to win in general, just economically in general, are the ones who understand that what AI represents is that. Fortune's going to favor the bold for the next couple of years here. It's the people who are doing anything. It is like the inactive ones who I think need to be worried. So I mean, we're gonna push. We're gonna be aggressive. We're probably gonna get the middle finger from some more prospects because of it. But I think what our clients know, what I expect they know when they talk to me is like. I will fight with you. I have tough conversations.
Literally?
I have tough conversations. I have conversations with our clients all the time.
If I want to get in that fight.
But I will push, and it doesn't always work. But if you're going to come and be like, hey, we need to have a conversation with this. I'm really going to try to understand did we do something, or are you just overwhelmed and unsure what to do? Because those are two different things, and we wouldn't be a consultant if I didn't bring that up. So I think in terms of zagging, we're about ZIGs. Is I spend more, talk to people more, get out there more, sell more, pitch more. I think just get more at bats, but also just go as hard as we can on the stuff that we know we're doing better than everybody else, and eventually it will pay off.
I'm a finance guy. I studied economics at college. My first job at IBM was finance, and then sales ops. I had supported a lot of finances for the executive that I was supporting in the region, and so it's inside me. It's innate that when you look at a chart of accounts, marketing is a variable cost. And 12 years at IBM, I was in my 20s having a good time, and I made friends with all the marketing guys and girls, and then they would just all get fired. And then 18 months they'd get restaffed, and they'd come up with a new marketing plan. And I was like, that's unstable. As much as finance isn't that sexy, I'm going to stay in that field because it's more stable. And Digital has changed that, right, for all of us, right? There is still a variable side to marketing on all of our P&Ls, but because of digital, it's revolutionized it. You have to have a fixed component to your marketing.
Yeah.
If you're not investing in marketing, you're going to die as fast as if you don't invest in AI, right? So like, I take comfort in the fact that, like, I mean, we don't keep all of our clients.
Sure.
Yeah.
We don't win all the business that's out there. But I take comfort in the fact that, two things. One, people will always be searching. People will always be looking for what it is that they're interested in, whether that's business, e-commerce, direct-to-consumer, B2B. If AI revolutionizes the landscape so much so that Google goes away, which I don't think that that's going to happen. In point of fact, Google search, I think, has actually increased since the release of ChatGPT. It has not decreased. It's just traffic from Google, organic, has decreased because of answer engine
That's
optimization.
An important aspect of
yeah. So like I said, the slice of the pie is bigger. The search engine slice hasn't gotten smaller. We've just added the LLM piece. And so I take comfort in the fact that, like, as long as we're staying on the precipice of what we're doing technology wise and continue to do this AI, we're going to be in the best possible position to help a brand succeed in this arena as it's evolving. We just got to stay current. The good thing is we are good at staying current because we have to do it every year. Sometimes multiple times a year.
Stop doing that. Chris, what's the percentage of guys who like you were a strapping guy back in the day with great hair. You were at IBM. You had
good hair.
you had the whole world, and you're like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go like write these 40-page book reports and go pitch $500 a month. That takes an absolute lunatic, right? I'm not even sure I would be like, that's like smart. I think that might be insane if you told me that, back in the day. But that's why you're a great agency owner. That's why you're a great entrepreneur, is because it takes that takes that level of I think you have to be like, it's insane to everybody else, but it makes sense to me. And I've had to absorb a lot of that because there's pushback, man. Every day there's pushback in our world, whether it's on tools like AI or just like directionally, people have a lot of fear and a lot of opinion, and I'm sure you're in the same boat. You've started a business, but I think it's important to remember that kind of founding story of our agency, which is that a guy who didn't have to do this, made a choice to go pursue something that maybe didn't make sense, but I mean, I think it's been great for me, obviously, and our community and our clients.
Yeah, the community and client piece of it, and one thing that I really appreciate is, with all these things that are happening, and you want to be able to give as much as you can. Even like the workshops that you've had. I've been fortunate enough to attend one of your workshops where you had an entire room filled of people that you were trying to educate, education, and trying to separate yourself and show. The education piece and building that brand around it is key. So I really appreciated that. It was great. It was a great time. You had great topics. You guys were both on stage, chopping it up, and it was. I think that's a big differentiator for you and any company. It isn't just on the marketing side. Any business, anybody offering B2B. I mean, get out there more. Get out there. Be able to educate. Be able to build more awareness is key to the organization. So
appreciate that feedback, John.
Yeah, no,
I'm glad that you were there, man.
We had a great time.
Yeah, it was a good time.
It was a great time. Learned a number of things, and again, you never know. Oftentimes people. Yes, I'm in the same. I'm not in the marketing space, but even on the AI side, yeah, we live and breathe it. We do it every day. We've incorporated and invested significant millions of dollars into the things that we do today, but going and seeing different perspectives always gives you an idea of it's all you need is that one idea. And I'll go to all those events. Those events were great, and you guys really brought it then.
One of the things that Chris earlier on when I was that intern, we have that big open office space that you saw. I was the only person that took calls in the pit, as I called it. Everyone else would go book rooms. It's one of the first conversations Chris and I ever had. He's like, you're the only guy that, again, he was like, how old are you? He was like, you're the only person that takes calls out here. But when I started doing more sales calls through the agency, and I don't know if you still sit on sales calls with EMPIST or not, but I realized very early on, I was like, I am so fortunate to be in this position to talk to this many business owners and decision makers as I do. That's a huge luxury. Huge luxury. It can be all the way down from the guy just starting out to a VP of a very large company. Every one of those conversations was so impactful for me. And that is like, I'm not one, or at least I try not to be one unless I've had a couple beers to like, pull the young guy aside and like, let me bend you some advice. But if I'm ever asked, having those conversations is unbelievably important for our business. It's important for me to understand what is making people happy, anxious, excited, like all these different things come through on those calls. I can learn so much. And so I think, Chris and you both are big event guys. He's tried to drag me out. I'm like, I don't want to do this, man. I'm like, these things seem like torture to me. But I did try to, I think I tried to plug it in other ways. I'm having 30 networking calls a week, with people who are calling in asking about our service. And I try to just ask questions that are, not about us. Like what's happening in your world and your industry. Absolutely. And those kind of things, to your point, they move the ball forward in a way that you can't see in that moment. But I've been here 8 years. The amount of people who've circled back around and become customers of ours from a conversation I had 5 or 6 years ago, of just them being like, I remember we had a good dialogue and we had a good email exchange that wasn't about your services. But that is something, I think, I don't know our respective age differences, but as let's just say slightly second, like next generation from you guys, I think in my time in Chicago, I've learned and absorbed is, to your point, it's so valuable. Like going to those things and just meeting people it's good for you professionally, it's good for you personally, but also like it's building the network before you need it. And Chris has done a great job. Both you guys, like local business owners, you have you fostered a real legitimate Chicago community thing here, which is impressive. And like, I consider myself very lucky to be able to like be a part of and step into. So
that's fantastic. Yeah. So, as we wrap up, I mean, one last question for both of you. Anything that you'd like to leave the audience with regarding AI, marketing, strategy? I mean, you cover so many different things. I mean, you've obviously evolved the business, and you mentioned even a product SaaS company that you're transitioning into. But you've got so much knowledge.
We're not doing that.
Yeah.
don't give him that idea. We're not.
Yeah, maybe it's already done. Who knows?
Sure, it kind of already is. But
yeah, but when we look at it, just anything that you want to leave the audience with?
I would say promote Take One, Take Two, brand new podcast, man.
Yeah.
Like, this is great. I appreciate you having us, and I'm honored to be one of the first rounds of guests.
Yeah.
And I'm excited for you to kind of grow this thing. This is going to get a great communication vehicle for you guys to not only talk to your network, your clients, but the community. So I would just tell your audience to share that, and come like our page if you want to. I don't have a podcast, but come like our LinkedIn
so how do people
page.
get a hold? How do people get a hold of you?
So you can follow our content.
How do people get a hold of you?
Well, you can search on a lot of terms and find us that way, but logicalmediagroup.com is our domain. So you can go there and contact us that way. Or find us on LinkedIn and follow us on LinkedIn, and you'll get all of our content. I'll add you to my newsletter, and we'll stay in touch.
That's awesome. You can't search for Who is Harry. Can't find.
I wouldn't. I probably wouldn't type that in.
I don't know what you. I don't know
can't
what
be
you
responsible for what you're getting back on that.
That's right. That
I
might
don't know
not be a
what
good
you
response.
I would also. This is a really impressive space, and I think it's really cool that you guys are doing this. Thanks for. I look forward to being a recurring guest someday in our second round. But I think what I said earlier is like just attack everything every day, every opportunity, whether it's like AI related or not. I think right now it's just like when people are as timid and as anxious as they are. To Chris's point about us always zagging where everybody else zigs is like that just means there's probably opportunities sitting there waiting for you. So, if you want to do that in a marketing perspective, we're certainly a good partner to do it. And I'm sure the same thing could be said from an IT standpoint for EMPIST.
Yeah, fantastic, guys. Wow, that's amazing. I really appreciate you guys being in the studio today.
Yeah.
Very much appreciated. Thank you for being here. The recurring guest will definitely make that happen. Thank you for the kind words. Thank you to the audience for tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we hope to see you soon. Bye.
Thanks, John.
Yeah, thanks.
Awesome,
Thanks,
man.
guys.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Thank you.